Zone Live. I'm Kat King, retired administrator and teacher, turned mentor and entrepreneur, and here with my brilliant co-host, Melissa Ann Hernandez, former teacher, life coach, and fellow neurodivergent business owner. Melissa, I wanted to ask you something. In the movie The Matrix, what was Keanu Reeves' name in that? Was it Neo?
Neo.
Neo. Okay, shoot. I wanted to see if I could connect it though. Anyway,
Well,
so
Neo, I was actually hearing or watching um, the gentleman who plays Morpheus, right? He was actually talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson about the hidden messages in there. And Neo is a spelling of the one. So
ah,
I don't know if that any different.
Neo instead of they put the O in the I got it.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's the
too
one
cool.
kind of scrambled, or he was saying. So I thought it was interesting.
So, folks, if you haven't noticed, we're neurodivergent, neurodivergent, meaning the brain. We don't think typically, and we get distracted a lot. So, just like I did right now, because Melissa's mom was saying about what word I was saying, so I'm going to try to be a little bit better with my enunciation of the words. So we have a lot of very scientific words that we say here, and every once in a while I mess up. What can I say? So we're going to continue our show from Tuesday about executive functions, and it's a continuation because it was too much to say in one show, and as long as it did go, we didn't finish. But we already knew this. We had planned this out to be half and half, and so today we're doing the second half of this, and it's for to help us all with that changes everything for us for neurodivergent gifted, what's also called twice exceptional when you're a little bit of this and a little bit of that, like a Venn diagram going together, and that's what's considered twice exceptional. Melissa loves to explain that because she's understands kind of people like us very well. And so what helps is this thing called executive functions. And why? Because often the barrier is in our ideas and it is in our passion. We have lots of that. It's how our brains are wired. So the typical traditional kind of productivity methods aren't built on how we operate, although we can function with a lot of them very well because we learn how to adapt. It isn't best for us. So in this show, we're going to go beyond the get more done, and we're exploring how your brain, our brains, can be our business superpower. I love that we're doing that. And my other favorite word, Melissa, is the neuro spicy. Instead of considering it a negative word, considering it spicy, because that's what we are. We are spicy. And when you understand how your executive functions work, you get much better at all this. So for the next hour or so, we're going to break down the 5 extra keys that help us to create consistency, clarity, and confidence. We love those 3 C's, don't we, love Melissa? We're Curiosity Cube. We love 3 C's. And the way it fits in our wiring of our brains. So grab your notebook, settle in, and maybe get a cup of tea, a cuppa, as they say in England. Get a cuppa and join us with this next version of our Genius Zone live, right?
Yes, so I'm so glad you're here today. If you've ever felt like you know what to do but can't figure out how to actually do it and get it done, this session is definitely for you. There's no shame in it. It's not about fixing you. It's about understanding how your brain works and designing your business and your actions kind of around that. So let's get started with the first piece. Um, we did talk about working memory and we did talk about emotion regulation on Tuesday. So now, as Kat said, is this is kind of a continuation, but also some of these topics on their own, they can overlap. There's some intersections between those. So our topic number 1 is self-awareness, and it is the compass of the executive function uh, branch, right? So why does it matter? Why is it so important for us to be self-aware? Well, self-awareness at its core is the root of all regulation. So what we're talking about with being self-aware is about observing. right? The same way we observe others and we observe our surroundings, and we get data. Well, we want to observe ourselves, our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions. So without that observation, there's only reactions and not responses. And we're going to kind of connect this to emotional regulation as we go through some of the key points and some of the discussion that Kat and I have coming up.
Okay. So some of the key points that we're going to be going over, one is awareness, what Melissa was just talking about. And as she was saying it, of course, I was thinking about as soon as she said self-aware, we need to look at what's going on. I wrote down the word data, and then she said the word data because I knew that was the next thing coming up. So as science teachers, the first thing we teach, well, not the first thing we actually taught was safety. That was a requirement before we started anything. But the second thing that we always worked on as science teachers was observation skills. And it also happens to be the first one, because I'm into permaculture, it's one of the first principles is to observe our environment. So what we're talking about right here is observing our environment, what our body is doing, body, mind, and spirit, where our mind is. And we use the word metacognition a lot in education while we were teachers because it's thinking about your thinking. Okay, so think about it, what's inside. And for some people, we have learned, right, Melissa? Some people go, what? I need to think about my thinking, even sometimes adults. But it's something that's extremely important, and that a lot of people who are neurodivergent, like we are, we do it all the time. We have conversations in our brain, we have conversations with other people in our brain. We can do our own sim city in our brains kind of thing. So it's to notice what we are doing, because to become self-aware, the first thing you have to do is to observe your own behavior. Okay, and that's how the data collection happens that we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. Okay, so thinking about your thinking, metacognition. Melissa, you know what I saw? I saw this lawyer lady that I watch a lot, and every time she says something that's a lawyer term, she has a little thing that pops up, and so does Stephen Bartlett on the Diary of a CEO. As soon as they say some definition that's very scientific, they have this little thing that pops up. So I think that's what we're going to start doing, right? So anytime we have these big words like metacognition, we're going to start doing that as we learn how to do it. We just know that's one of the things that we have to learn for doing this YouTube channel. Okay. So 2E means twice blessed, twice exceptional, where you have the Venn diagram going, you have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. For example, you might be gifted and autistic, or you might be ADHD and gifted, or you might be a little bit of ADHD and a little bit of autistic. So it runs a gambit. So just understand that. And usually people who are twice gifted are overthinkers. I'm not guilty of that. Am I, Melissa? You're not guilty of that. No, we never overthink. Yes, we constantly overthink everything all the
Always, all
time.
the time.
It's one of the things that's about it. So it's taking that data that we're overanalyzing things and finding the mindfulness in it, and to figure out how to ground yourself in it and to have some insight. Okay. And one way that it's very good for people like us to do is journaling. Okay, to write things down. Like this morning, I love to write things down, just to do what I call, what teachers call a brain dump. Just write as much down as you can of what your thoughts are, what's going on in your head, because it helps you to figure out what's going on there, to see patterns. Because one of the most important things as human beings is to see patterns. That's the only way any kind of the sciences come about, is to notice patterns. And then you can deduce information from there. And when you figure that out with journaling and pattern seeking, it helps your executive functions consistency increase by 31%, according to research. So, Melissa, I've got a question for you. How are we going to teach our clients to notice their patterns without any kind of judgment for themselves?
I think going back to observation, self-observation is not equated to self-criticism. When we say observe yourself, we don't mean for you to be critical be judgmental towards yourself the way you might think others are. We really want it to start, and Kat has been saying this since last week when we started. We're acquiring data. Feedback is data. Self-observation's data. Data, not drama, right? We want to not focus on so many of the negative things that we always kind of think about, and when we are self-identifying as neurodivergent, whether it's gifted, ADHD, low support autistic, we really want to be taking data the same way we take data of the world, but of ourselves, right? Um, we also talked about compassion. So having and encouraging compassionate curiosity, noticing without fixing. I'm going to notice this about myself, but I'm not going to in the moment try to fix it, because then I'm telling my brain that I have a problem that needs to be fixed. And on the contrary, we're just taking notice. What do I see? What do I think? What do I wonder? Why am I, kind of reacting this way, or why are these thoughts? And then that goes to pattern tracking, where we track our energy, right? We talked about the dopamine dip and having a dopamine menu last week, tracking our emotions. We talked about emotional regulation as well, how we react or respond to stimuli, and then also possibly having focus logs. Instead of labels like I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, I'm not committed. I'm not a strong worker. We want to kind of reframe that and try to see, okay, where is what's working against me, right? So pattern tracking is so important. Also, linking awareness to our values. We talked about this again on Tuesday. So much of what we're talking about today connects and interlaps with the 5 topics we discussed on Tuesday. But when we want to think about our value system and not shame ourselves, just like we shouldn't shame others. So the thought might be, when I know my triggers, I can design or prepare for them. If I know my triggers but don't reflect and plan accordingly, well, then I'm not using anything with that data. I'm just identifying that these are my triggers. But the idea is to learn and to adapt tools, techniques, and strategies to help offset some of those challenges that we, as neurodivergent women, deal with on the daily. Gifted and twice exceptional women, we overanalyze. Kat, you don't know anything about that, right? We overanalyze, we overthink, we ruminate. What Kat and I have been doing, Kat probably a little bit longer than me, is practicing mindfulness. So mindfulness helps us feel and not just think. What am I feeling? I'm going to do a body scan to kind of see where I'm at. Where am I holding my tension? Is it in my teeth and my jaw? Is it my shoulders? Is it in my legs? And so body scan even is a form of mindfulness that allows us to kind of see where we're at. I will tell you that Attitude Magazine, in 2024, um, positive accountability systems improved task completion by 65%. So when we have accountability systems, when we hold ourselves accountable for our responses to stimuli or to triggers, then that really does increase our productivity, our positivity, and that really helps us be strong entrepreneurs. And so, next up, I kind of want to ask Kat, what signs tell you you're heading towards executive dysfunction before it actually hits?
Well, like I've said before, sometimes it starts hitting me. My body tells me before I know it's happening. Like the first thing will happen is my cheeks get red. You can see it happening. My butt. And those of you that are a little bit Irish or something like that probably know what I'm talking about. You just, my body changes. Uh, Around me, instead of being things in order, the way I like things in order, things start to get cluttered. Like sometimes they used to tell people that were highly intelligent and stuff, a messy desk. What is the saying, Melissa? Something about a messy desk, cluttered mind, cluttered. I don't know. Y'all kind of remind us what the saying is. But it was supposed to be a negative thing if you had a messy desk going on. And we're finding out that not necessarily, okay? Sometimes a messy desk is because a lot's going on in the brain, okay? So I notice that that's happening, and I notice that sometimes when it gets to be the part that my brain starts noticing it too much and it becomes a distraction for me, then I have to do something about it. And I know that when I'm observing my shutdown, sometimes I get irritable if I haven't had enough sleep, if I haven't had anything to eat, or things like that, or when there's too many decisions to make. And sometimes with what you and I do during the day, there's just so much on the brain. Sometimes my brain just gets tired. I sometimes don't take enough um, brain breaks, because we're focusing on something so much. So that's something that I need to be working on. So in my body, it's my breathing changes. Everything around me gets a little bit messier. I'm overstimulated sometimes. My dogs that I love my dogs, but sometimes they come over to my arm and they lift it up really hard. I mean, really strongly, and I get aggravated sometimes. It's like, déjame, which means leave me alone, let me work. But, all they want is some attention because I've been on here too long. So I'm trying to listen to them more, because sometimes my watch doesn't tell me when to stand up, but my dogs do. And they let me know to go outside. So I have to check my body. And I think maybe, there's some dogs that sort of notice cancers or things like that. I think my dogs might notice when my body needs to go outside. Anyway, another thing is to find out when the slide is going down, when the energy is going down, when the focus is going down, to notice it and do prevention, because the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it's better to head it off at the path. So the biggest thing is what we've been talking about right now is awareness, self-awareness. So what we're going to invite you to do right now is to go down in the comments and let us know if you have any early warning signs that your body lets you know that you're about to crash, that your executive functions, which means how you think in your brain, what decisions are becoming very difficult to make. When is a time that you've noticed that you're about to crash? Okay, so topic number 2.
Okay, and just before I'm going to ask permission to just deviate real quick, because I want to prime our viewers and you and I on kind of the brain, because we're going to be talking about the brain. We're talking about the brain and the nervous system connection. But one thing, I wrote down some notes yesterday because I really wanted us to kind of be grounded in neuroscience and the brain. So I want to remind our listeners, our viewers, and our community about the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. So the limbic system is the emotion center of the body. And so I think I may have said it on Tuesday that when the limbic system overpowers or overrides our prefrontal cortex, which is our logic and planning, people will start to experience emotional flooding. So that's like complete shutdown or impulsivity, difficulty starting or finishing tasks, that paralysis by overwhelm when the nervous system feels unsafe. And so I just want us to have that sense of we work on different systems, right? Remember that the prefrontal cortex is that area of the brain behind the forehead, and that is our logic, planning, our focus center. And so we always have to be mindful of what our brain is going to do, and we know where it's, what it's going to kind of push us to do. But also, we need to be really aware of our limbic system and the emotion center, because now we're going to be heading into the next topic, which is going to be self-monitoring and accountability. And so as we kind of go through this, I want to challenge you all to kind of think about which part when I my behavior, when I behave, when I act, when I do things, am I working more on from the limbic system and emotional state, or I'm working more on that focus, that planning part of the brain? So why does self-monitoring and accountability matter for ADHD women and ADHD or neurodivergent entrepreneurs? Well, it kind of goes that same thing about you can be self-aware and you can self-monitor, but if you don't hold yourself accountable by learning and coming up with ways to offset some of the brain-based challenges, well then we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, right? We want to get better and we want to be stronger and build that internal resilience. So consistency doesn't come from willpower, it comes from witnessing yourself, right? What am I feeling, right? Name it, claim it. This is me, this is who I am. And then now you're better able to tame it or reframe that thinking. And so some of the things we're going to be talking about is positive accountability, and how it outperforms self-criticism. We can be critical of ourselves day and night, but it's not going to help us be accountable and learn and grow, right? Co-working, peer check-ins, AI tools, they externalize the follow-through. Kat and I have talked every time we've been on live about how we work together, that we do the body doubling or the shadowing where we're both on Zoom, and even if we're not talking, just our presence is holding us accountable to each other and keeping us on task. And of course, compassionate observation. This is data. So I might tell myself, Melissa, this is data, this is feedback. You're going to make data-driven decisions. I'm not going to judge myself because I don't judge others. Why would I want to judge myself? Even though I'm really good at it, guys. So one research quote is self-awareness is the keystone executive functioning skill. A 2025 clinical psychology review meta-analysis shows mindfulness training improves executive functioning performance by 31% in ADHD adults. That's a big thing. That's nearly a third, right, of that. So let's kind of delve deep into some of our own experiences, Kat. So how do you use external accountability? Like our live shows or your farm team, how do you use that accountability to stay consistent and follow through?
One has to do with when you name something, then it can start to exist. For example, when you and I decided to go with Zen Business and establish our LLC as Curiosity Cubed, that was the beginning. So then we had to follow through with whatever reports and things that we had to do. And then the next step was us figuring out how to get our business started. And then us deciding, okay, how are we going to get the word out about what we're doing? And so we started this channel and naming it and starting with a public announcement that, hey, we're starting this live show going on. And what are we going to name it, Melissa? Because we wanted it to be focused on one specific thing, and it was for everyone to find out what their zone of genius was. And so, of course, that sounded really good to me because it's when you think about genius, you're trying to think about the positiveness about being neurodivergent, not the negative things, right? So when we named this channel and we got it started, it helped to follow through because then we had to decide, okay, how often are we going to come on here, what time, and all that kind of stuff. And we knew that our abilities at right now is sort of low as far as making videos and stuff. We're learning. But so when Alex Hormozy said, hey, you can go live and actually get more of an audience, I was like, hallelujah, because we can go live. That we don't have the issue about going live. The problem was, okay, what do you do with the videos afterwards? And I'm still trying to figure out how to get everything started and have the time to get it started. So that's the first thing. And then because neurodivergent brains thrive with relational accountability and being seen is being anchored. It's like the thing like yesterday, how are you going to get something started? You take a breath and then you get it started. So us making sure that we're doing this, letting our family know, hey, we're going live right now. We're posting in Facebook, posting in LinkedIn. That is a public accountability that's making sure that we're anchored to this, our commitment to do this. So in doing this, as we're working, we just checking in, logging into Zoom, making sure, we're there in case the other person needs it. We do that. And then, of course, for myself, uh, when we have things that we're doing in the business, usually the color codes help us a lot. For example, I said it before, when things are for Melissa, we make sure that it's in teal, and when things are for me, we make sure it's in purple. So we can make sure just by visual cue, okay, who's doing what, when, where, how. So that's real helpful with our checklist of what we're going to be doing. And understanding that accountability isn't pressure, isn't anything for someone to say, you didn't arrive here at 8 o'clock on the dot, you're late, but more of a situation of it's a partnership. You're going to do as much as you can do to make sure that our business and this channel goes well. And I'm going to do as much as I can do. And then holding ourselves accountable more than holding each other accountable, because that's what it is in a partnership. Yeah. So, Melissa, I have a question for you. What's a kind of accountability system that actually works for ADHD people and twice blessed entrepreneurs without triggering any kind of shame for them?
Great question. Uh, there's a lot of research coming out on neurodivergence in the workplace. And so we're kind of just getting this data coming in from leaders, from employees, who are now talking about the interactions, the learning environment, in the workplace, right? And so some of the accountability systems that can work without shaming may be like yours and mine, Kat, co-working spaces, right? Either virtual or in person, gentle partner texts, sending each other a text. Hey, where are you at on this? I know my coworker Shirley Munoz, who's amazing, and she would hold me accountable. She would text me, and I would text her, "Where are you at on this?" Right? Just kind of little nudges, voice notes as check-ins. Um, or even apps. Now there's so many ADHD apps, and guys, by no means don't go out there and subscribe to a bunch of apps, but see what might work for you. There are neurodivergent ADHD people out there that are really trying to hone in on ways to improve the workplace. So something else is avoiding that competition scoreboard system. In like, I did this, you didn't, right? Now it's more about let's celebrate, right? And be compassionate. That was a win for you. I'm happy for you. We win together. Maybe tying accountability to curiosity, right? What worked? What didn't? What can I do now differently to foster or promote a better work relationship or environment? And of course, neurodivergent accountability thrives on connection. And of course, dopamine. Let's not forget the dopamine. Remember, dopamine is that neurotransmitter that is that motivation molecule. It motivates neurodivergence to take action. And when we have that dip in dopamine, well, we may not meet deadlines. So the important thing is making connection, realizing what like that dopamine menu where I can get hits of dopamine when my energy is a little low. And then using that data to make better decisions, right? To improve. Um, Another quote, I'm all big about research, guys, right? And so is Kat. So we've added some quotes in here just to let you know that what we're saying has weight. It is weighted and leveraged in research. So Attitude in 2024 reports accountability partners increase follow through by 65% for ADHD entrepreneurs, especially when rooted in positive reinforcement. Same thing in education. Negative reinforcement doesn't work. It's counterproductive. Positive reinforcement works. So that accountability partner, just like Kat is to me and I am to her, it just has been paramount in our productivity and helping us manage the tasks that we have. So go ahead, Kat. Let's give our audience a prompt.
So go down below and let us know who keeps you accountable in a way that you feel supported, that you feel happy to listen to what they have to say, and you don't feel stressed out. So tag them here and explain to them how they help you. Okay.
Hey, and Kat, before you get started, I
Yeah.
noticed that BG Childs 56 is in our live chat today. And I want to backtrack because I wasn't monitoring it, but now I am. So Belinda, hi. So she did say a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, and she put me with like 20 exclamation marks, right? But one thing she asked, and before we get started, I think
Please,
it's really
please tell her
important.
thank you from me.
Yes,
My,
yeah, well, she's
my,
live, girl. So she's live. She's listening to
thank
us
you,
right now.
Belinda.
So her question was, doesn't this also apply to women who are not considered diagnosed as neurodivergent? And when we say this, not considered or not diagnosed, ADHD, ADD, low support autistic, even gifted, twice exceptional. So what do you think about that, Kat? These things that we're talking about
Okay,
in executive functioning, does it apply to all women, regardless
I
of
am
diagnosis?
so glad she asked that question because I'm going to compare it to when a woman knows when they're pregnant. A woman sometimes knows, the body tells them way ahead of time before a little stick might tell them or a doctor might tell them. So in the old days, people didn't have to tell them they were. So what I want to tell Miss Childs is right now is um, I am not diagnosed, but I've been told all these things and everything I already know I am. And I wasn't diagnosed as a gifted person, but the first time I started taking my certification for gifted and talented in Houston, when I worked in Houston, um, the head person who was explaining this, the gifted guru, if you go look her up, walked up to me during one of the breaks, and she looked at me and she went bent down. And she goes, "You are gifted." I can tell you're gifted. And I was her star pupil the whole time because she was the first person that told me I was. I knew I always made straight A's. I did really well in school and all that kind of stuff. But for her to actually go down to me and tell me you're gifted. So I didn't need someone to tell me even before her because I always thought I was. And then when you're talking about being autistic and stuff, my husband, the first time he met me, and he noticed little things I do, my little, you know, my little twitches that I have, and he said, "You're stemming," and I said, "I'm what?" You're stemming. What you're doing right now is right there. It's called stemming. See, he's a professional. Uh, he worked with adults with different neurological disorders, diseases, and things like that. And so he knows more of the medical kind of things than I do. I know more of the developmental kind of things than he does. And so it's really wonderful having conversations with him. So what I want to say is you don't have to be diagnosed to know that you are. Okay? If you have some of the traits, you're probably on the spectrum. And the spectrum is it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So you have to figure out where you are on the spectrum. And please understand that as your life goes on, you can switch a little bit on the spectrum, especially for women. When you're going through all the changes in life, your body gives you different kind of hormones or keeps them away that you don't have them at the levels you used to. So you can go in and out of the levels that you are in. Did I explain that okay, Melissa?
Yes,
Do you have more?
definitely.
Do you have more to say about that?
No, I was talking this morning to my mom and my sister and kind of talking about that, like how executive functioning, if you have a brain, then you have been using executive functions since you were born. But as we get older and more self-aware, we can manage how our brain works. We can't always change our brain, even though neuroplasticity says that, yes, we can continue to learn. But yeah, it's really important that Kat and I, Kat, when we started doing this and we thought about this and we started thinking about neurodivergent women, one of my questions was, well, I don't want to leave out women who may not identify as neurodivergent. But in the topics we've chosen, we're including everyone, all women. I mean, men even, men, women, children. But for the sake of what we're doing and the purpose and who our audience is and who we want to work with is neurodivergent women. But I guarantee you that definitely what we discuss is applicable across women from being younger all the way. to, well, really the whole time you're on this earth.
Okay. So we're ready for topic number 3 now, Melissa, huh? Okay, topic number 3 has to do with organization, and we're going to help people design their systems that fit their brain. Okay, so first of all, physical and digital simplicity. Melissa and I share a Gmail, and we share our Google Drive. And so for both of us, we know that the folders are very important. Anything that comes in the emails, we have to make sure it goes in certain folders. And so we've taken the time to do that because both of our brains need that. And the same thing with our Google Drive. And although sometimes, we need to go up and clean it out and stuff, we allow each other, okay, we're going to go and, oh, let's go through the emails. Let's do this. So we try to keep up digitally and then physically. Uh, for example, I like that my closet is clean and organized. I know where everything is. I know in my drawer exactly where things are. So to understand that physically with your folders or files or whatever you need physically around your desk to help you to be organized, it's very important. And then also digitally so that you don't get too far. And it's supposed to be improve your functioning of your brain up to 40% if you try to keep all that organized. So that's why Melissa and I are working on it all the time. Okay. And then the other thing is the visibility is more important than perfection, right? So when you use color and texture and light strategically, it helps to organize your brain, your body, and your activities during the day. Okay. And the thing about out of sight, out of mind is a biological truth. It's not a bad habit. So when you finish with something and you're done with it, you need to put it up and put it in wherever it needs to go, because if things are too scattered, it it scatters the brain. It clutters up the brain. And so clutter. So when you have too much clutter, it competes with cognition, which is the functioning of the brain working. So you want to make sure things are cleaned up in your brain, things are cleaned up in your physical area so you can continue, which also, Melissa, includes sleep, because that's when our brain physically cleans out the cells that need to be cleaned out is when we sleep. And so when we don't sleep, it hurts everything in our thought systems, right? So I get to do a quote this time, Melissa.
Yay.
2025, and I do want y'all to know that we're trying to get the best and the most recent research every time we're telling you stuff. This one comes from the Occupational Therapy Journal, and it says that organized environments improve completion by 40% for ADHD professionals. Organized environments improve task completion by 40%. Amazing. So, Melissa, I have a question for you. So, how do environments and sensory input affect focus for neurodivergent business owners?
I'm giggling before I answer this because BG Childs is on the chat today. And she said, when you talked about clutter, right, and how clutter clouds cognition, her question was, how the heck does one do that? How do we get rid of all the clutter? Um, it's hard, it's difficult, but I think it's not just about cluttering your area, it's also about the clutter in your mind, right? Not silencing, but kind of minimizing the chatter, the noise, all the things that you have to do. But I think it's starting with a plan, right? It's starting with a plan and starting to take things step by step and starting one area that you feel, and it goes back to pattern recognition, I think. Go back and look and see where's the space that I feel most frustrated, and then start there. And that might help with that little bit of clutter there. Um, I love the questions. Keep them coming. So Kat's question to me was about the environment and sensory input and how it affects our focus, especially in relation to being an entrepreneur or a business owner. So I think Kat and I have talked about this a lot about sensory sensitivity, that how sensitive you are to stimuli around you will determine your focus or level of focus, rather. Noise, lighting, clutters, overstimulation. Um, just to give you a little bit, I have nerve damage from a fall that I had in 2021. And what I wasn't sensitive to before, I am sensitive now. Sometimes it's lighting, sometimes it's noise. Um, Sometimes it is feeling like I don't have enough space to move. And so now I'm more aware of that. And so I have to always be monitoring and kind of seeing how I'm gonna respond and help me be more productive. Clients, my many 2E or twice exceptional clients think better visually and kinesthetically. And what does that mean? That means that having visuals and incorporating movement is really, really important for neurodivergent individuals. And so the environment also can trigger or calm your nervous system. And it goes back to finding that space. Maybe there is a sensory sanctuary spot in your house or in your business that is a calming zone for you. That um, might be something. Also teaching sensory zones. They create specific spaces for deep work, creative play, and rest. Nature, Kat talks about nature all the time, even stepping outside, getting some vitamin D, some sunlight on your skin, taking your shoes off, standing in the grass, or feeling a little grounded and more connected to the environment. So nature and texture regulate the limbic system, and that is our emotion center. And so it's so very important to find different ways, especially at work. At home, you have more autonomy. At work, you may not have as much autonomy. So it's really important. So now I'm going to follow up, Kat, with a question for you. What's one organizing method? And this might help BG Childs in the chat. What's one organizing method you've created that actually sticks for you specifically?
Okay. Well, when I was a classroom teacher, I had a lot of things to keep up with. And for example, when I was a kindergarten teacher, we had to do things by monthly themes. So I had cardboard boxes that had all the different activities for that month because we always had to do certain things for certain months and make sure the kids were understanding what holidays were. So that was part of social studies also. So everything went in those boxes. And then as a farmer, when I started collecting all the seeds and buying all my seeds, I started getting the old VHS kind of boxes that had the VHS. Well, I have one right here. Let me show you. So I have all these seeds, and it's really hard to keep up with seeds. And there's many, many different ways to do them. And the best way to do it is, of course, in little bags. But I saw one of the influencers online that they were doing it this way, so I started doing it this way. That one you can't see as well. But I have things in here like this one says beets, and so I have things that are roots, beets, and other things like that there. And like this one was a flower, so I have my different flowers in this one. So I have almost 3 filled up with different kinds of seeds, which I have been sharing with the different people so that they can grow them around the world. And it was part of what I was doing. So to keep up with seeds, I physically make boxes. I collect boxes to organize what I'm going to be doing. And my dresser drawers, I like the old shoe boxes that you put in there to divide the little things, and my socks go in one, my underwear go in another one, bras go in another one. So those little kind of things that you see the fancy people selling stuff, I just use old shoe boxes for things like that. So it's always helped me. uh Digitally, as I said before, you and I on the Google channel, we're putting the folders in different colors. Again, anything for Melissa is in teal, anything for me is in purple. and then make sure that when things are taken care of, like right now it's just starting to get cold here, so I know that I need to start getting out my winter clothes and put up my summer clothes, because this is the only time we get to wear them is about 2 months down here in South Texas. um, and then also with my rituals, I have these little rituals I do when I'm getting ready to go to bed. I have rituals in the morning, and so it just helps me to know how to get organized with my time during the day. And it helps me to understand how to look towards the future. Okay, I know I'm going to be doing this, so I need to get that thing ready. And it helps me not get so tired with decision making, because I know, okay, I'm going to do this at that time. I'm going to do this at that time. Until that time, I don't have to think about it right now. And it helps my brain not to figure that out. And I'm going to go on with organization, Miss Childs, is kindness to your future self. Think about it that way. If I spend this time to organize right now, then in the future I'll be able to find things. Because as my husband knows, when he forgets to put up a tool, he kept on saying, I need a toolbox. And so I bought him this really nice toolbox thing. And now he has to remember to put the tools back in the toolbox. So that's the next step, though. But now he has somewhere to put things. So he's working on it. It's a work in progress. He's better than he used to be this time last year. So, kindness. When you start organizing, just be kind to yourself and know that it takes some time. And research. 2025 again, occupational therapy journal again. Environmental modifications with lighting, color, tactile order, improved focus by 40% for ADHD professionals. So,
Awesome. So now we're going to engage our audience with a question and a challenge. Show us your workspace setup. What helps you focus and what throws you off? This is a really seemingly easy question, but I think it is a challenging one. So show us your workspace. Give us a little bit of inside view into what helps you focus and what throws you off.
it'd be cool if they took a photograph of it and posted it with their comment, wouldn't it? I like that.
BG Child says her husband would just go out and buy another tool. Yeah, I love that. So when your hubby, Paul, has to be tasked with putting things away, Belinda's would just go out and buy a new one. Convenience, paying for convenience. Thanks for that. So now we're moving on to topic number 4, goal-directed persistence, finishing what you start. How what a task it is for some of us to finish what we start. Now that would be easy if we only had one or two things going on, but for the most part, neurodivergents have so many things that they're doing, especially because we're dopamine seeking individuals, and so oftentimes we're seeking interest, novelty, challenge, urgency, passion. So we're constantly looking for these different things. And sometimes we start so many things and then we don't finish any of them. And so right now we're gonna kind of flip the script on that, and we're gonna go into kind of building that persistence. So why does it matter? Finishing is harder than starting. Although you ask someone who is neurodivergent or ADHD in that inaction phase or inaction stage rather, starting is so difficult. But once you get started, it's like you're go, go, go. And then here comes another challenge of actually finishing what we start, because novelty fades and dopamine drops. And we seek again, novelty, something that's new or something that gives us that dopamine hit. So we get that drop, we may lose interest in finishing the many things that we had started. So I think it's really important. Some kind of tips would be like defining what done is before you even start. Maybe I'm not going to be finished with the whole thing in its completion by today or by next week, but what is done today? What are those small kind of chunking some of those tasks? And that goes to celebrating micro wins, right? What are micro wins? They're just, those little celebrations that we can have for ourselves, um, that kind of let us know that we're on the right track to completing the things that we need to do. So when we flip the script and we say we're celebrating, this is a good thing, I made it this far, we're actually renewing a little bit of that dopamine. We're telling our brain, like, hey, this is a good thing, right? So hype us up a little bit. Delegation also turns ideas into action. Kat and I have talked a lot about delegating some tasks, especially if they're some of those mundane tasks that cause us to kind of have that dopamine dip. Um, and just allowing ourselves more of that rest and relaxation that we're going to be talking about in a minute. And so for twice exceptional women, women with ADHD, I know me that I went through the gifted and talented program, and I always say I'm a gifted and talented dropout. Um, and I'm twice exceptional with ADHD as well. And I've had anxiety in the past. So that would be thrice exceptional. We often self-sabotage, right? We engage in self-defeating behaviors. We may have a scarcity mindset, right? We're not doing enough. We're not giving enough. So then we try to overproduce and overcommit. And that drains us of the energy that we need. And so self-sabotage really is kind of caused also by that perfectionism, right? So often when that self-sabotage hits, we want to not seek out perfectionism, but we want to reframe it to progress. Not, when we grew up, Kat, what did they tell us? Practice makes perfect, right? How did that was the thing. Practice, practice, and you'll perfect it. But really, we need to reframe that because it is an unrealistic expectation for so many of us that now it's about reframing perfectionism and replacing it with progress, right? Practice makes progress as long as you move the needle just a little bit, right? So another dose, your daily dose of research quotes. Entrepreneurship Theory and Practice in 2024 said ADHD founders deliver 50% higher innovation when delegating execution. So think about that. Founders, entrepreneurs, leaders in business, they deliver 50% higher innovation. That's creative problem solving, maybe an increase in products or product design when they delegate who is going to execute those ideas. So remember, guys, we have thinkers and we have tinkers. The thinkers are the ones that come up with the ideas, and the tinkers are the ones that help bring that into fruition. Many neurodivergent women are both. We are thinkers and tinkers. We come up with the idea and we want to also work through it. Um, so that's really important. So Kat, how do you decide which projects are worth finishing and which to gracefully let go? The infamous letting go of this very important project or thing that I love, but may not be the one that's worth finishing.
Well, for right now, for the two of us, it's our company. It's getting this off the ground. We have a timeline of what we need to do, and we're going to get it done. So, first of all, does it go along with your mission? Does it go along with your energy? So, we're trying to always make sure, is it part of what we need to get done? And then to understand finish doesn't always mean we have to complete everything. It means we have to close the loop intentionally. For example, it would have been easy for us to start uh, taping all of what we're doing right now live. And then afterwards, we would have had to put it in the can, to download it, to refigure out, okay, we're going to take this part out, oh, redo this part, do this. And it would have stopped us in our tracks. We wouldn't have been able to do this because we eventually would have either had to get our learning curve up high enough that we could do all of the technical part of video, or we could go live. So we decided to go live. And no, our loop of intentionality isn't totally perfect. So we're doing this messy, which is the way to do. Practice makes perfect. So we're going to keep on doing this and keep on doing this as a science experiment, basically having to do with our own brains, having to do with the brains of anybody out there that's listening to us. So That's more important right now for us to get going, right? And then to release it, to understand that I don't have to have this completed. It's like something else that gets put on our plate. And in the old days, it's like you have to eat everything on your plate before you can get up. And to understand that we can do a little bit of this and it doesn't have to get finished. All we're doing is progressing. And I held this up again, Melissa, because it's so important to understand that progress over perfection is what we need to really focus on, because gifted women tend to overcommit and they have to feel that I'm not worthy unless I complete everything 100% perfectly. Okay. Instead of understanding, I tried my best, I gave you my best, what I can do right now, and that has to be good enough right now. So, permission to fail, permission to edit the goals, permission to not be perfect all the time. And it's liberating once that you feel that you can do that, because you may or may not have the energy to do something. It has nothing to do with the obligation that you set forward. So sometimes we're working from a deficit of energy and we still try to get it done. And women tend to do that. And then what does it do to us, Melissa? It hurts our health because we didn't have the energy, but we pushed on through and we got it done anyway. And sometimes it's not the right thing for us at that time. So let's follow up with this, Melissa. What emotional stories keep clients stuck finishing the wrong goals? The wrong goals.
Man, that is such a loaded question, Kat. Emotional stories. When we talk about emotional stories in the coaching world, in the life coaching world, we really are talking about more of that internal narrative, the story that we have given ourselves or played out, which often is our own interpretation. And if we go back to the RSD, right, the rejection syndrome, when we go back to thinking about how we may perceive or our perception of certain situations result in self-rejection, they may not always be based on facts. This is kind of where the narratives are really important. And so I know with clients, I try to have them be really clear with the story they're telling themselves, that internal dialogue. And so fear of failure, that's a big, big one. Fear of failure. If I quit, I wasted my time. I see this in relationship coaching as well. I'm in a toxic relationship, but I don't want to leave it because I've wasted years of my life. And then it's reframing. But if it's not serving you, why would you continue to engage in that same behavior or relationship? RSD, right? I'll disappoint others, right? On top of disappointing ourselves and that self-imposed guilt and shame, we tend to have a fear of disappointing other people, not living up to their expectations, even though those expectations are not directly explicit to us or stated explicitly to us, but we think that that's what they're thinking. Validation chasing is a big thing too. Like, I need validation. I need to be seen. I need to finish this to feel satisfied. When others are the ones that will normally tell neurodivergent women and individuals, like, you're not just doing enough, you're doing more than enough, right? And so often here's the standard, and neurodivergents are working up here, and they have such a buffer to be able to even just be at the place of everyone else's. It doesn't have to always be go above and beyond, right? That I'm a superwoman, I can do everything and take on the world, right? Perfectionism masking fear as well, that endless tinkering to avoid feedback. So I'm just going to keep doing, and it's going to be more about being busy than being productive. Breaking patterns with reflection. Kat talked about metacognition, which is thinking about your thinking. I would always joke when I trained teachers, I would always have something up when I talked about metacognition. And the quote was, metacognition is thinking about your thinking while you're thinking to make your thinking better. And we would laugh about it. But really, that is about self-awareness and self-monitoring in the moment. So if we can break that pattern, and really think and question, like, who am I finishing this for? Am I gonna go through this task? Um, am I going to continue trying to acquire this goal that is not serving me? Or is it time to now step away from it? And it's okay to step away from some of those goals that don't serve us, especially if we think that someone else is imposing those goals on us. Um, so some other research, Entrepreneurship Theory and Practice 2024. ADHD entrepreneurs complete fewer tasks overall, but achieve 50% higher innovation when they delegate completion support. So first we talked about how they delegate some of that executive task or some of the tasks to meet a goal. And this one's talking about completion support. So having an accountability partner as well. And so if you're noticing, some of this data is not by 1%, by 5%, 20%. We're talking 30%, 15%, 50%. So important.
Okay, so we're going to invite you all to drop in chat right now. If there's an unfinished project that you've been working on and it's taking up mental real estate, and your thoughts, your actions, everything is focused on that right now, what is it, and why do you think it's hard to let go of it in your mind? Just chat down there for us. Okay, we're on topic number 5, rest and recovery. The forgotten executive function. And I think we started talking about it before. Uh, your brain needs rest. That's all there is to it. And so, for anyone to be replenished with dopamine and focus, you need to have rest. During the day, you need to have brain breaks. When you get away from your desk, if you're on the computer all the time, you need to take breaks. You need to go outside. You need to smell in the fresh air. If you can, go barefooted for a little while in the grass. That'd be great. As long as you're around trees, you're getting some of the good radiation in you. So go do that. Okay. So for ADHD and twice blessed people with exceptionalities, uh, your brain burns energy faster when you can rest and when you can have the downtime so your brain can get clear. All right. So the downtime also can restore your performance. I remember in high school, when I was taking trigonometry, or maybe it was analytical geometry with Mr. Ritchie. And anytime we came to a problem, and this is way before any kind of um, graphing calculators, way before that, when we actually had to memorize the everything having to do with trig, sine and cosine and net. And he would say, you're going to come to some problems that you're not going to be able to do right away. What I want you to do is leave it alone. Get away from your homework, go do something else, go outside, go do something else. And this was back in the early 70s, okay? And he said, get away from it and then come back. And you know what? More times than not, you're going to be able to do it. And it's true. Your brain gets re-stimulated and revigorated, and you can do more when you go away and then come back. So when you have some kind of a rest with nature, with quiet, with dark, with music, things like that, it helps you very much to replenish your brain. And this is not scrolling on a device. This is away from devices. This is out in nature by yourself, breathing and taking care of you. Okay. So when you have a schedule and you make sure, like my watch tells me when I need to stand up and get moving and stuff, it's helping your whole system of your body. So you need to see it as part of the systems that you need to develop before you develop a business. Okay. And it's not a luxury. It's not, oh, when I do this, then I'll take care of myself. No, you need to go back and think like you're on an airplane when they tell you if anything happens and the oxygen goes down, take the oxygen yourself before you put it on a child. Before you can take care of your business, your child, you need to take care of yourself. So that's what we need to be working on there. All right. So, research 2025 again, neuroscience review. Non sleep downtime restored dopamine sensitivity and executive functions performance by 23%. Your brain can work better by 23% when you take the time to rest, when you take the time for brain breaks. So it's important. All right. Melissa, why do you think rest feels unsafe for so many neurodivergent people, ADHD, twice exceptional women?
Let's see. I think many of us, especially those of us that are, I think, in our 50s and 60s, maybe even 30s, um, have always been pushed to be productive, right? And to move and to keep momentum. And there's not a lot of time for rest. And so sometimes we perceive rest as an inability to complete tasks, or if I stop I'm going to lose my momentum, and it kind of threatens our identity. I know this was something at work where I had my own coworkers telling me, slow down, you don't have to take on the world today, or so. But I was such a forward thinker and future casting that I thought, no, this is going to come up, so I better be prepared. When what I was doing was I was just compounding my already kind of clouded brain with more things that we weren't even there at that time. So taking rest, taking a step back. I love how you said that we should use rest as a business strategy, as a success strategy. It's so important. We're reframing it, changing that mindset, that productivity mindset. Childhood conditioning, as I mentioned, our worth but is how productive we are, right? You need to do well, you need to study, you need to apply yourself, you need to go to college, you need to have a job, you need to do this. All of these things that we needed to do when really we should have also been given time to just rest and to reflect, and that's really the way to be better tomorrow than I am today, by kind of reflecting on what worked and what didn't work. um I think one big thing is stillness. Stillness exposes unprocessed emotions. And I'm kind of like uh covering right here because I have a hard time sitting still. And even when I'm still, my body internally is not still because I'm alone with my thoughts a little bit more, right? So our nervous system tends to avoid that stillness, that rest, and that's why for some people meditation is challenging. Sometimes mindfulness is challenging, but it's not about completely quieting the brain. It's just knowing when your body needs that stillness, that rest, and relaxation, as a goal to recover, really recover from the day, recover from all the energy outputs that we've had. So I think that we need to teach each other, and we need to teach our children especially to have those productive pauses, right? Because that is really what is going to enhance or accelerate our progress or our productivity. You know, my 4-year-old daughter told me last month, she was like, she said something to the effect of it's about quality over quantity. And so I turned to her and I was like, what do you mean? And then she started telling me that sometimes when we do things too fast, the quality, we don't have the quality that we expected. And basically, guys, she was tracing letters and numbers. And she was trying to do it so fast, but then because her speed increased, she wasn't mindful of the task that she actually was doing. And the goal was to trace accordingly. So she herself, her teacher is amazing. I love Montessori school, by the way. Her teacher is amazing. And she really teaches her to reflect in the moment and say, is it better for you to go faster? Or is it better for you to have more quality and take your time? So now we have that discussion sometimes. Is it time to go fast, or is it time to kind of slow down a little bit? So we're normalizing it in my house, normalizing rest, normalizing when to pause, even with our emotions. It's so important. So I know that I said a little bit about how my brain works and functions. I don't like that quiet time. But I know that I need it, and I really yearn for it. My body yearns for that time to just kind of be alone with my thoughts and process the day. So Kat, how do you build rest into your business model? Not as a reward, but as part of the plan. I know when we reward ourselves, we think, okay, I am the prize, but it's usually singular and it's not, it's fleeting. So how do you kind of build in that rest?
Well, we've already been trying to start to do that. One of the things that are non-negotiables. We try to make sure that the weekends are, there's sometimes we have to do something to get ready for Monday or Tuesday, but overall, we've been trying to say that the weekends are non-negotiable. The holidays are non-negotiable. Uh, you need time in the morning, non-negotiable. I need, to get off at a certain time, non-negotiable. So having some kind of a schedule always helps. Um, to know about rest, my dogs, I've said before, and my watch let me know when I need to get up. So just to figure out those times for your body and for your brain to get the rest, to figure that out, and then to make sure that we have times. I know we're going to do this eventually, Melissa, but we're going to have times where we're going to bring people here and we're going to have some kind of a retreats time with our clients that are going to be coming here because I want to develop the glamp ground here. So there's going to be times where we can go away with our clients, there we can come away from the hustle and bustle of whatever's going on in our families so that we can come away and think. When you and I went to Charleston to with Barry Baumgartner and Blue Melnick a couple weeks ago, it was our time to go and do what we needed to do. But then afterwards, we took time to go rest, to go walking, to go figuring out what we're going to be doing. And then after the session, then we took a full day there so we could go over some of the things and debrief. And I think that helped us tremendously instead of right afterwards getting on the plane and coming back and then trying to remember what we were thinking about. And so I think that we've had a schedule and I think we're going to go forward with it. I think right now we're not doing it as much as we um, could be doing it after we get all this foundational time going on. So I know we're putting in more time and more energy, more efforts, more days, more hours, but I think that will come down a little decrease as we go forward. So just remembering that the downtime that we take is helping our brain with dopamine, helping our brain to think better, make better decisions. So knowing that if you focus a lot, you're using a lot of brain power, that you need a little bit of time to recover after that kind of thing. And then you need time to reflect on things that happened. And then you can do the think ink again with journaling or things like that. So if you focus, use the brain a lot, recover, reflect. And that has to do with your body. If you run a lot, you need a little bit of time to recover from the run, and then you need time for your body to to figure to get ready to do the next thing, right? So there's cycles of what our body needs, there's cycles of what our brain needs. And then we need to always protect the time for our rest, the time for recovery, to be something valuable, like a profit for our business, because it will sustain us and it will sustain our business. It's a type of nutrition that we need. Rest is just as important as what our body needs for nutrition. We need that also. Okay.
Great, thanks for sharing that. I think this might be our last quote, I'm not sure, but Neuroscience Review, which is amazing, stated in 2025 research, non-sleep downtime restored dopamine sensitivity and executive functioning performance by 23% in ADHD adults. So we often correlate rest with sleeping. But for the ADHD or neurodivergent brain that may not get a lot of sleep at night, I know me, like I'm an insomniac, so I work on very little sleep. I'm working on that actually. I need to take advantage of non-sleep downtime where I've kind of shut down my brain and my body just a little bit. And that way it can restore that dopamine and kind of fight off the dopamine, that dopamine dip that I experience and that neurodivergent women experience as well. So it's really important to think about what non-sleep downtime will work for you. So audience, tell us in the chat, what's one way you'll build rest into your business rhythm this week? How can you build rest into the weekly plan? And so we're about to wrap up here. So just some reminders. You don't fix executive function with force. You rebuild it, right, through awareness, that self-awareness, the structure, and the compassion that you have for yourself. Many of us are empaths, and so we feel so deeply for other people, but it's very hard for us to kind of spin that on ourselves and be gentle and compassionate with who we are and how we move around and exist in this world and in our spaces. So it's very important to be compassionate. For neurodivergent, gifted, and twice exceptional entrepreneurs, mastery isn't about control, right? When we say master, we're going to master something. It's not really about control. It's more about the congruence, right? Balancing out rather than being in control of every single aspect of your life, because trying to control situations that you can't is just perpetuating that same anxiety stress loop that that we engage in. So build your business to fit your biology and to fit your brain, and then you're able to see how everything kind of aligns or realigns for you.
And those of you listening, if you're ready to go deeper, and if you want to identify your own true passion, and you want to take that passion and focus your energy and build a business around it and go all the way to a profit because you want freedom in your life, please join us. Join us at our Passion to Profit event. Our first one is November 13th through the 15th. It's a 3-day event, and it's not about hustling harder. It's about clarity. It's about alignment, and it's about flow. So when you get your system is in order, you understand yourself better, you can start achieving more. So head over to the link below that we have for you to register for our event. It's going to say register at passiontoprofitevent.com, something like that, right, Melissa? I might have it wrong. You need to go below there and check it out. And the next thing you can also do is check out our schedule that we're going to have, because we also have webinars connected to this live show. And we're going to have, if you go below and sign up for the Genius Zone live webinar, you'll be able to figure out our schedule there.
Yes, so make sure you hit subscribe, ring that little notification bell so you can get notified on the amazing things that we have going on Tuesdays and Thursdays here. And share this episode with another woman who needs to hear this, who also needs to know that their brains are brilliant, that we can use our gifts and our strengths as superpowers and not as negative aspects of who we are. So we'll be live again Tuesday and actually Tuesday, because Thursday, Kat, is the start of our 3-day event. So we are going to have a webinar coming up, and that information will also be on that dashboard if you register and sign up for us. And Kat has some really good freebies on there, some information that could definitely bring some of that self-awareness and alignment. We want to see you on Tuesday. And actually, no, Kat, our whole schedule for next week is shifting. And so right now, guys, I'm having the realization that Tuesday we have a mastermind. We'll be attending a mastermind with business coaches that have poured so much knowledge into us. And so we're going to move our live to Monday. And then we won't have a live on Thursday because we will be on our day 1 of our 3-day Passion to Profit event. So we'll go ahead. Those of you that have registered and have shared your emails with us, we will be emailing you and sharing that information, that new updated weekly calendar of events. So when you do come on Monday, bring your curiosity. Questions are so important. Bring your brew, whether it's coffee or tea, bring your openness, but more importantly, just be present with us. This is a safe space, and we want to share it openly with each of you. And remember, because magic happens when clarity meets compassion and passion meets profit. So we'll see you next time inside your genius zone.
And remember, your brain isn't broken, it's
It's
brilliant.
brilliant. Brilliant. I love that. I love, love, love that. Thank you, Kat, for sharing today and for always being authentic and vulnerable, right? I feel today I needed to be a little bit more vulnerable and talk about some of the things that I deal with on a daily basis, whether it's the 50 tabs in my head or not being able to sit still or all of those intensities of thought and emotion and excitabilities I think are really important. So kudos to you, Kat, and
Thank you,
thank
Melissa.
you.
I
Yeah,
appreciate everything you've said as well.
yeah, thanks. And those of you that listen live, and some of you are still with us, and some of you, thank you, BG Childs, for engaging us in dialogue and providing some really great questions for us in the chat. We hope to see you next week and that you'll continue to be a part of this really amazing group of